What is up, everybody? Hi, I'm back with another update on my special project, my special Pokemon project, the Pokemon fan game that I'm designing and hopefully creating sometime in the next year or so. And well, I think if you clicked on this video, then you probably already know what this is by now, but just in case you haven't, here's a quick reminder. I'm designing a Pokemon fan game based on Israel, the country that I live in, and I'm here to talk about all the Pokemon that are going to be in my region. So without further ado, let's jump into the sub-legendary category. Now, obviously, my last update was talking about the legendaries, specifically the box art legendaries, the big guns, the ones that you pretty much spend the entire plot of the game trying to find and catch. Now, these are the sub-legendaries. They're not quite as powerful as the main box art legendaries, but they're still very, very powerful in their own right, and they have a very important role to play in the game's story. Now, obviously, when designing sub-legendary Pokemon, you gotta have to think of how many do you want, because some games have only 3, and some other games have like 17, because, you know, Game Freak just loves creating new legendary Pokemon. So I really wanted a pretty balanced, nice looking number, so I decided to settle on 7. Now, obviously 7 is a lucky number, and it's a number that has been seen numerous times throughout history, particularly in the Bible and in Jewish mythology. So I decided 7 was a nice sweet spot of a number of legendaries for my game. So I also kind of decided to make it a little bit, take a little bit of an extra step and kind of make each of the sub-legendary Pokemon tie in to the main box art legendaries. Now, obviously, I have 3 box art legendary Pokemon, so I decided each of these legendary box art Pokemon has 2 sub-legendary Pokemon, so they're kind of basically their main followers, and I thought that was a pretty nice touch. Now, obviously, each of them have 2 plus a 7th one that kind of unites the 7 and kind of creates this unity and bond between the all 7. Now, it's kind of hard to talk about it without going into too much of the story, but I'm saving all of that for a different episode, because I have the story right now. I just want to talk about the design and the inspirations of these 7 legendary guardians. That's what I'm calling them, the legendary guardians. So now let's get down to business. First of all, the game that I'm developing is called Pokemon Star, Cross, and Crescent. Now, obviously, Star represents Archaea, the Star Pokemon. Cross represents Spiritus, the Cross Pokemon, and Crescent represents Burakil, which is the Crescent Pokemon. Let's talk about Archaea first, and Archaea's first 2 followers. Nozirka, the Flood Pokemon. Okay, so clearly it's a whale. You know what else is a whale? Wailord, the largest Pokemon in existence. Well, this one's bigger, because I said so, because it's my Pokemon, and I can do whatever I want with it, and I decided that this Pokemon is the largest Pokemon ever. But don't worry, I'm not just saying that just to compete with Game Freak. There is a reason for that. Now, first of all, other than the fact that it's a whale, you notice that it's kind of shaped like a boat or a ship. It's actually based on Noah's Ark. You know the story of Noah's Ark from the Bible? Well, yeah, this Pokemon pretty much is a representation of everything about that story. It's both a whale, because it's the largest known creature on the planet, and it's also based like a giant ship. Also, as you can see, it has a few plants growing on its back. Those are olive trees, kind of representing the olive tree, the olive branch in that story, where Noah sent out his white dove to kind of see if there's any life outside of the flood, and it came back with an olive branch. So yeah, this thing has olive trees growing on its back. This thing is water and grass type, partly because it's a whale, and it represents the flood, and also because it's an ark, it's a boat, it's made out of wood, and it's got olive trees growing on its back. It's, it all connects. Also, it's a kind of a part of its lore that bird Pokemon sometimes, take refuge on top of its, on the branches of the trees growing on its back. Similar to how Pokemon sometimes live inside the tree growing on Torterra's back. So, yeah, it's kind of cool like that. Now, how does this Pokemon accurately represent the flood? Here's the thing. You know how Generation 6 kind of introduced terrains that kind of shape the way the battle is going on? Like electric terrain, psychic terrain, grassy terrain, stuff like that. I kind of decided to play around with terrains a little bit more. I like that idea, so I invented a couple of new terrains for my game. I'll make a separate video about those eventually once I'll have all the terrains that I want written down. But this one introduces the flood terrain. As soon as you enter this, and that's why its special ability is flood. As soon as this Pokemon enters the battle, it creates a gigantic flood. And a flood terrain, to kind of sum it up really quick, it's a giant downpour of rain. It's stronger and more intense than regular rain as a weather condition, and it just makes the ground, very muddy and very slippery. And it makes Pokemon it lowers Pokemon's accuracy because they keep slipping because of the flood, because they keep missing their targets. Now, the main thing about this Pokemon is that it's in double battles or even triple battles. Whenever this Pokemon enters the battlefield, it creates a gigantic flood. However, unique to this Pokemon is particularly its teammates, all friendly Pokemon on its team, get up on its back, like getting on Noah's Ark, which keeps them protected from the effects of the terrain. So basically, this thing creates a terrain, but it and all the other members of its team are completely immune to it. So it's kind of, it's a very valuable member of your team. And also it goes back into the whole part of it being the largest Pokemon in existence. It all works. It really fits. Now, going over its name a bit, its name, Nozairka, comes from, obviously, Noah's Ark, Nozairka, but it's also Noah, Noah's Ark, Zait, which is olive in Hebrew, and also Orca, because it's a whale. Even though this thing is not an orca, it's a blue whale, but I kind of wanted the name whale to be in the name, and I was desperate for a good name, and I think Nozairka actually ended up being very good, so I'm proud of it. Don't you tell me I shouldn't be. The next follower of Archaea is Abgoin, the binding Pokemon. This one, while the previous one represented the Flood and Noah's Ark, this one represents another story from the Bible, the binding of Isaac. It's the binding Pokemon. And for those of you who don't know the story, God told Abraham to kill to bind and kill his son to prove his worth. But then once he saw that Abraham was willing to do that, he told them, okay, you can stop now. You don't have to kill him. You can just go kill this goat that just happened to be there. And that's why this Pokemon is a goat. Also because Abraham was a shepherd, and he was a very wealthy man. He was the wealthiest of men living at his time, which is why this Pokemon is also shaped like a goat, representing, the goat that he killed eventually, but also because, Abraham was a shepherd. And you can see the horns on this thing. These aren't traditional goat horns. They kind of look like sickles or knives. They're representing the knife that Abraham tried to kill his son with, but also the wings are kind of very angelic and covered in feathers. They represent the angel that God sent down to earth to stop Abraham from killing his son. And as you can see, its legs and feet are kind of wrapped around in chains, symbolizing the binding of Isaac when he actually chained him up and tried to kill him. And now this Pokemon is Dragon Fairy. Firstly, because it's a really cool type combination that I don't think we can even get in the game much anymore. I mean, I believe the only Dragon Fairy type that I can think of is Mega Altaria, which you can't really legitimately get anymore. Maybe they'll add it to Pokemon Go soon, but in the main series games you can't really have Mega Altaria anymore unless you're using like one of the 3DS games. But anyways, the Goat Fairy thing, it kind of represents Abraham himself. First of all, the fairy goes into the angel part and the whole holiness, because Abraham, I believe, is considered to be the holiest of men. He's, according to the Bible, he never sinned, not even once. He did everything that God asked him to, and also he was very wealthy. And dragons are known to hoard gold, so the dragon typing kind of fits. Also, with both Nozairka and Abgoin, I really needed really need them to be weak or otherwise not very effective on Archaea. You see, because type balancing is a very difficult and challenging thing. So they both needed to be either not very effective or just straight up weak to either Psychic or Steel. And the type combinations kind of made sense to me. This Pokemon has the ability Binding. As soon as you send this Pokemon out into the battlefield, obviously it lands because even though it has wings and it can fly, it is not a flying type, so it's not really mandatory for this thing to be flying all the time. So it automatically lands on the ground, and all of the chains wrapping around its legs kind of burrow into the ground, wrapping themselves around the enemy team's feet and kind of causing pain to them every single turn and preventing them from escaping. It's basically Shadow Tag with some chip away damage thrown in there. Now obviously the drawback to that is that Abgoin itself can't leave the battle. So there's a little bit of a give and take with this ability. Now as for the name Abgoin, obviously Abraham is a part of the name. Goat and dragon are also two words thrown in there. And bind. So yeah, Abgoin. It's a bit complicated, but I think the name works out perfectly for this Pokemon. Okay, so that was Archaea. Now let's move on to Spiritus, the Christianity side of these box art legendaries, the Christian Pokemon. The first follower of Spiritus is Flameout, the Ascension Pokemon. Okay, so this one is a little bit complicated, but I promise I'll explain everything. First of all, as you can see, it's kind of horse dragony looking. I kind of basically used the Thestrals from Harry Potter as a main inspiration, except I made them less skeletal, more majestic and dragon type. Now obviously I didn't make this drawing, I have an artist, he drew it or she drew it, I don't know, I never actually asked, but yeah, I really wanted the whole winged horse thing to be a part of this Pokemon design. And as you can see, the wings are a little bit more dragon / angelic like, and it's got this huge mane that kind of wraps around its face like a giant long beard, similar to Dumbledore's. I'm not just now noticing this Pokemon has a lot of Harry Potter inspirations into it, but I swear to you, this is not just a Harry Potter ripoff. Also, you'll notice that its legs have chariot wheels on them because, you know, the Thestrals carry chariots in the Harry Potter universe. Now, where is all this chariot / winged horse stuff inspiration is coming from? This Pokemon is actually representing Elijah the Prophet, which is technically more of a Jewish thing, but it falls back into Christianity later down the road. I mean, it's often said that John the Baptist was a sort of reincarnation of Elijah the Prophet, and it's often said that Moses, God, and Elijah the Prophet kind of welcomed Jesus into heaven as soon as he was crucified. So I thought Elijah the Prophet makes sense in here. Now, obviously, it's got some of these scale patterns on its fur. These are actually not scales; they look more like grapes, because in Jewish tradition, in Passover, just like you leave cookies and milk for Santa Claus, you're supposed to leave a chalice full of wine for Elijah the Prophet to drink whenever he comes to visit your house on Passover. Where is that connection coming from? I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, the giant long mane wrapping around his face like a beard represents the beard that Elijah the Prophet is often associated with. Now, why is it still a chariot? According to the Bible, Elijah the Prophet went up to the sky in a flaming chariot of light. That's how he ascended up into the heavens. And that's why it's still believed to this day that Elijah the Prophet never actually died. He only ascended to the heavens, and he occasionally returns to the mortal plane. It's more specifically on in Passover, but he also returned on several other occasions, like when I mentioned, to welcome Jesus into heaven. And he also apparently, according to some interpretations of the New Testament, he often revisited the earth to kind of instruct Jesus about how to approach his way of life. So because of this Jesus connection, and since Spiritus represents Christianity in this region, I decided that this Pokemon would belong to the Christian part of this whole thing. So that's why it's the follower of Spiritus. Now, this Pokemon's special ability is Ascension. Basically, when this Pokemon's HP gets below 50%, it rises up into the sky and bursts into flames, pretty much like the Human Torch from the Fantastic Four. It bursts into flames, adding the fire type onto its already existing typing. This Pokemon is Dragon and Flying, but it has the option of adding Fire type onto its existing type combination. It's Dragon because, again, balancing reasons. I needed this thing to be weak to Spiritus, and Spiritus is Ghost Fairy, so making it Dragon makes it weak to Spiritus. But Flying is also, again, Ascension. This thing, Elijah Prophet, flew up into the sky in a flying flaming chariot, and also the Fire type inspiration. I mean, it's pretty rare occurrence. It's only when this Pokemon's HP is very low, but obviously it kind of makes it neutral to Fairy. But you know, it's still a Dragon. It's still weak to Fairies, so it doesn't really mess up the type balancing too much. So it works out for me. Now, as for the name Flammeout, it might sound like a Fire type, but it's not. It's actually Flame. There's actually flame into it, but it's also Flying or Flight. Elijah or Eliyahu, as he's known in Hebrew, and Chariot. So yeah, that's where the name comes from. And also, when you say the name fast, kind of like when saying Nozarika's name fast, it almost sounds like Noah's Ark. Saying Flammeout really fast, it kind of sounds like Flame Out, the signature move, the signature catchphrase of the Human Torch. And it basically represents spontaneous combustion. So this Pokemon really fits well together, and I'm really proud of how this Pokemon turned out to be. And the second follower of Spiritus is Jockerist, the conversion Pokemon. Okay, so first things first, yes, it's a bug. It's a bug-type Pokemon. It's a bug legendary Pokemon, which you don't really see that a lot, so I figured, why not? First of all, there is kind of technically a legendary bug-type Pokemon, or rather, a mythical bug-type Pokemon in Genesect. Of course, there are some people who don't consider mythicals to be legendaries. I personally do, but if you don't consider Genesect to be a legendary Pokemon, then there's always Buzzwole and Pheromosa, which are also bug Pokemon that are Ultra Beasts. Some people consider them to be legendary. I'm a little bit more on the fence on that, but since they can be found in both the Ultra Wormholes and Dynamax Adventures, I'm guessing Game Freak considers them to be legendary Pokemon. And if Game Freak considers the Ultra Beasts to be legendaries, no reason why I should. However, still, if you don't consider either Genesect or the Ultra Beasts legendary Pokemon, Jockerist is technically speaking the first legendary bug-type Pokemon, even though it's a fan game. Now, I have looked at a bunch of other fan games for Pokemon. None of them really seem to have legendary bug-type Pokemon, so I think I might actually be the first to think of this idea. Now, again, the bug-typing comes primarily from balancing. It is Bug Psychic. I needed the Psychic type to be weak to Ghost because Spiritus is Ghost Fairy, but I also needed the Bug type because Ghost and Fairy resist Bugs, so it's 4 times resistant to Bug type moves. So yeah, it Bug Psychic mostly for balancing reasons. But now we've gotten through all of that, why is it a Bug type? Well, first of all, you have to talk about which biblical character this Pokemon represents. It represents John the Baptist. Now, apparently, John the Baptist used to eat locusts at some point. That's something I've only recently became aware of. So, yeah, it's a bug type. It's a locust because, you know, John the Baptist, the eater of locusts. And also, if you notice, its 4 arms are kind of positioned in several various poses. The kind of John the Baptist is often known to be portrayed as because, you know, he blesses people with his arms, and yeah, even though this thing doesn't really have much in the way of fingers, it really represents John the Baptist by way of its poses on its arms, and also the colors kind of represent the robes that John the Baptist used to wear, who were apparently made from camel hair. And also, its wings are pretty much decorated with the alchemic symbol for gold, because of the whole gold frankincense, and myrrh. Also, it's smiling and it looks very old and frail, kind of symbolizing wisdom as opposed to age, because technically speaking, John the Baptist didn't really live to have a long life because of circumstances that happened in history. But yeah, this thing is John the Baptist in Pokemon form, and I already mentioned its typing, so let's talk about a little bit about its ability, conversion. This is the conversion Pokemon. Now, every time this thing is on the battlefield with you, there's a small chance it might actually convince the opponent Pokemon to either hit itself instead of hitting this Pokemon, or instead of just hitting itself, hit a member of its team, because it's sort of it goes for the whole conversion to Christianity. It convinces an opponent to do something that they normally wouldn't do. It's a conversion Pokemon. Now, obviously, the lower level the Pokemon is, the higher the chances of this ability succeeding, because converting to another religion is often best at a much younger age. So yeah, it's the conversion Pokemon. It is a Bug-type legendary. It's John the Baptist. It's great in my opinion. I really like the way this Pokemon turned out. Also, the name Jockerist comes from John, as in John the Baptist, Locust, and Priest. Jockerist. It works. Obviously, the first thing that is on every Christian person watching this mind is, how could I go with John the Baptist and Elijah the Prophet, but not Saint Peter, also known as Jesus' best friend and colleague? Didn't think about it at the time, and I apologize for that. I'm really kicking myself every day since I realized that. I probably should have I wanted two for each. At some point I was considering Mary Magdalene, but yeah, no. I am not doing that. Okay, so I did technically forget about Saint Peter, but then I remembered it, and I'm here to say that he will not be left out of this game when all is said and done. I actually do have a plan for his character. I'm not going to reveal what that plan is at the moment. I'm just going to let you know that Saint Peter will be a part of this game. He just won't be a legendary Pokemon. That's all I can say for now. So let's move on to the Crescent Pokemon followers. Mobahlif, the loyalty Pokemon. Yes, it's another camel, I know. The starter is a camel. But what can I say? It's a Pokemon game based on Israel. There are a lot of camels around here. And plus, I was born in the south. So, camels. I pretty much grew up around camels for a pretty significant portion of my life. Plus, this Pokemon is a flying camel. You know the phrase, when pigs fly? Well, there's a similar thing amongst Arabs and Bedouins around here in Israel. It's sort of like when a camel sprouts wings or something like that. So, it's a Pokemon. It's an imaginary creature, so I kind of decided to make it a camel with wings. It's a flying camel. It's flying psychic type. And yes, another legendary psychic type. Go ahead, sue me. However, like I said, I needed this for balancing reasons, and the main box art legendary Murakhil is Dragon and Dark. Dark is immune to Psychic, and it's also super effective on Psychic. Like I said, balancing reasons. Basically, representation of the Islamic character of Abu Bakr, which was the Prophet Muhammad's #1 follower. He was his #1 disciple, and he carried on his legacy after Muhammad passed away, or according to the story, ascended to the sky. He was the first. Abu Bakr was the first Khalif in Islam, and like I said, he was basically the Prophet Muhammad's heir to the title of leader of the Islam. And as you can see, it's wearing a kafia, which is a traditional Muslim headwear, but it's very much designed to look like Abu Bakr's kafia in artwork, which there is very rare of, because obviously in Islam it's very much not popular. It's very much forbidden to have depictions of real life humans and characters from Islam. So I really didn't have a lot to work with, but I think the kafia and the design on the hump and its back actually came out looking very good. This Pokemon's ability is loyalty, because it's the loyalty Pokemon, because Abu Bakr was loyal to a teeth to Muhammad. As soon as this Pokemon is introduced into the battlefield, it motivates its team members to go on by restoring 25% of their HP, as well as 5 PP in every single move. Now, obviously, this Pokemon can be switched out every once in a while, so you can basically just switch it in and out, and kind of make sure you're not going to lose any PP at all or HP. But you know, kind of keep in mind that you're basically going to have to waste a turn in order to do that. As for the name Mubahlif, which comes from the word mosque, Abu Bakr, and Khalif, because like I said, he was the first Khalif, and yeah, it's a Khalif Pokemon. It's Abu Bakr. Mosque is a traditional Muslim praying place. Yeah, Mubahlif. It worked out pretty great. Let's move on to the second one. Alfamaru. As I previously said, human depictions of characters in Islam or people in Islam is highly forbidden. Most of their artwork is represented by these long, sprawling tapestries of what appears to be plants and grasses covering an entire wall, and they're usually green or gold. So I figured, why not take that particular type of art style and just make a Pokemon out of it. This Pokemon represents Omar ibn al-Khattab, which was the successor of Abu Bakr, which was the successor of Muhammad. You see that there's kind of a progression there. He was the second Khalif, and he was also often nicknamed Al-Faruq, which is why this Pokemon is named Alfamaru. It's a combination of Alfalfa, Omar, and Al-Faruq. It also kind of sounds a bit like ephemeral, because this thing is grass ghost. It's ephemeral. Again, ghost, weak to dark. Grass, not very effective on dragon. Again, balancing reasons. But I think as a grass ghost type legendary Pokemon, this thing looks perfectly. I mean, it's basically just, you know, a spectral, grassy Muslim artwork in a Pokemon with ruby red eyes and everything is, and some gold highlights. My ultimate vision for this Pokemon is to have this thing kind of move and always kind of be shifting, sort of like Rorschach's mask from the Watchmen movie. Now, obviously, it's going to be a bit of a tough thing to pull off. I kind of want it to be similar to Galarian Rapidash's mane, how it constantly shifts colors. Gonna try to see how I can fit that into a Pokemon game, but that's really not really my area of expertise. I'll leave that to like an animator or a game designer whenever I get around to that specific part of the game. But yeah, Alfamaru. It's, you know, the Omar ibn al-Khattab Pokemon. Now, obviously, grass because of the artwork, ghost because he's dead, obviously, and also there's a bit of an unpleasant story about how he buried his four-year-old daughter while she was still alive, or something like that. I don't know. I don't want to get into too much of that stuff, because it's a little kind of gets dark and uncomfortable, and I don't really want to talk about it. So yeah, ghost dark type, ghost grass type. I'm sorry, for balancing reasons. Its special ability is Justice. This is the Justice Pokemon. Even though Omar was known as a very cruel and iron fist ruler, he also had a very strong sense of justice and balance, which is why this Pokemon's special ability, Justice, every time while this Pokemon is on the battlefield, every time a different Pokemon has some of its stats changed, raised, or lowered, this Pokemon's ability makes sure that every single other Pokemon on the battlefield has the exact same stat changes. So if a Pokemon uses an Omni Boost like Dragon Dance, every single Pokemon on the battlefield gets an Omni Boost. So it's not necessarily making the boost in stats irrelevant. It's just, you know, making it a bit more fair for all the other players. So basically, if you use Swords Dance to raise up to sharply raise your attack stat, you will hit harder, but you'll also get hit just as equally as harder. It's all about justice and balance, which is something that's very important to me in this game. So yeah, this Pokemon does that. It's basically like synchronized, but for stats, but on a much bigger level. But, yeah, Alfamaru. Okay, so this is basically all 6 of the legendary guardians, the 2 followers of each of the 3 legendary Pokemon. But there is a 7th one. There is one to kind of make sure to balance all 6 and make sure none of them tries to get too power hungry and attack any of the other ones. There's a 7th one that is neutral, and it kind of is there to serve a purpose of balancing all of the other 6. Now, who that Pokemon might be? Well, like I said, it's neutral, which means it can really belong to either Archaea, Spiritus, or Murakil. It's actually another Reggie. You know, the Reggies, I kind of like the idea of the Reggies. I like how all of them kind of represent a different time period in human history. How Regirock represents the Stone Age, Regice is the Ice Age, and Registeel is the Bronze Age. And then in the most recent DLC, they added Regieleki, which represents the Industrial Revolution, and Regidraco represents medieval time. Now, I wanted another Reggie to kind of represent a specific time period in Israel that is only exclusive to Israel, which never actually happened anywhere in the world, which was a very tough thing to do, but I ended up coming up with arguably the shortest period out of all of the Reggies, which is the Hasmonean period, the period of time where this group of Jews known as the Hasmoneans rebelled against the Greeks, or rather the Hellenistics, and they kind of ruled Israel for a pretty short period of time until eventually the Romans showed up. It's a very short time period, but it was definitely memorable, and it's also it's the period that kind of gave birth to the Jewish holiday Hanukkah. So here's my idea for a Reggie that kind of represents the Hasmonean period. Reggie Fight. It is a fighting type Reggie, because, you know, every Reggie is monotype. This Pokemon is only a fighting type, and it's basically a giant ball of fighting energy, similar to the Aura Spheres created by the Pokemon Lucario, and it has a helmet, shield, and sword that are often associated with Hasmonean warriors. And I think this Pokemon, as a Reggie, it looks great. Obviously, you'll notice that the dots on its face, because every single Reggie has these dots on its face, they kind of are in the shape of the number 8. Because, like I said, the Hasmoneans kind of basically created Hanukkah, and Hanukkah is mostly celebrated because the jug of oil lasted for 8 days, which is the reason why this Pokemon has the number 8 on its face, as, you know, the dots for the legendary. And yeah, it's I created my own version of a legendary Reggie, and I'm actually very, very proud of the way that the design of this thing works. Now, I know that the Reggies aren't really the most popular Pokemon ever. Not a lot of people like the Reggies. I personally do. I love the Reggies. I love their inspiration. Plus, you know, the Reggies are based on golems, which are creatures from Jewish mythology. So I wasn't not going to have a Reggie in an Israeli-inspired Pokemon region. It doesn't make sense. So yes, this is basically my version of a Reggie. This is how a Reggie would look like if I thought about it. And yeah, these are all the 7. Unite the 7, as they say. You know, according to legends of the Molash region, you have to awaken Reggie Fight, the Reggie, and kind of use him to wake up all the other legendary guardians. And once you wake up at least 2 legendary guardians from a specific faction, either Archaea, Spiritus, or Murakil, you use all 3 of them to wake up the big ones, and that's how you bring in those ones, because, you know, these Pokemon are kind of tasked with protecting the region while the other 3 are away. The main 3 are the guardians of the region, but they don't really interfere, similar to how God only interferes when it's absolutely necessary for him to do so. Same thing with these Pokemon. They are the guardians of the region, they watch over the region, but they never actually interfere. That's where the legendary guardians show up. They actively protect the region from a distance, obviously, because they're legendary Pokemon. They're not meant to be seen by people. The only way to access them is through Reggie Fight. In the main story, the evil team awakens Reggie Fight, and they use him to capture 2 of the legendary guardians. Which 2 kind of depends on which version of the game you're playing. But then obviously that's how you get to the legendary Pokemon fight in the game. So yeah, that's basically it for the legendary Guardians. I think I've talked more than enough. My throat is beginning to sore. So yeah, this is basically my quick overview of the legendary Guardians. This is how legendary Pokemon would look like under my supervision. And well, I really hope you guys have enjoyed hearing me talk about these legendary Pokemon. And I can't wait to share with you guys more stuff about this game. This game is really coming together, and I couldn't have done it without my artist. You can check him out on Fiverr. I'll leave a link to his Fiverr account on my YouTube channel. I really encourage you guys to check this person out. They're doing some really great things. And well, that's it for my Pokemon region. I gotta go rest my my vocal cords a little bit. But yeah, I'll see you guys hopefully very soon when I have more stuff to share about my Pokemon region. So this is basically all the starters and the legendaries. So from now on, we can actually start to focus on the actual Pokemon that populate the region, which I'm so excited to share with you guys, hopefully very, very soon. So thank you guys for watching. One final point, if you guys can check out my Patreon, which I release early looks at all of these Pokemon and how and the early designs. There's some really cool, fun sketches. You can even see a design for Reggie fight that was the original design for it, but didn't make the final cut. You can see all this kind of stuff on my Patreon. You can have your own characters in the game, and you know, a lot of really cool stuff on my Patreon. You should really check out. So yeah, and also this Patreon can help pay for this game whenever this game comes out. Whenever this game does come out, all Patreon members basically get a free copy of the game. So this is basically it, and I really hope you guys have enjoyed me talking about these legendary Pokemon, and I will see you guys hopefully sometime soon when I can talk about some of the Pokédex essentials, as I call them. You want to know what that is? You'll see exactly what I'm talking about once I get to that next update. So, and also check out the Patreon for early access to that. So until next time, everybody, go! Hello again, everybody! I really hope you enjoyed this video, because I really enjoyed making it. So, if you like what you've seen here, please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more awesome content like this. So, until next time, guys, I'll see you guys next time.